Hey buddy, watch this.
Hello, hello, Regis Kelvin is the name and Hearthstone is the game, and this is a deck spotlight on an elemental mage deck that was created by the beloved professional player Kolento. Now this is a day one Journey to Unguro deck, but everybody's still trying to figure out what's good and what's bad, but elemental mage is clearly an archetype that is supported by its new legendary Pyros, along with a couple other elemental synergy cards. So although a lot of the world is playing Open the Waygate combo mage on the ladder early on, which seems to be pretty successful, Kolento assembled this list that takes a little bit of a different spin on mage. It's really just more of a mid-range deck with some tempo elements, but as I think elementals are want to encourage, this is primarily a mid-range deck that can generate quite a bit of late game value and go toe-to-toe with control decks to some extent as well. But ultimately, you're going to just be trying to preserve and survive against aggro long enough to develop a board and win, or play a little bit more on-board aggression against control to push them over and play consistently enough that they can't quite deal with all of the threats that you can develop. So it's a neat deck. It's a lot of fun. I mean, things of note are, of course, Pyros himself. This is not exactly the most tempo-oriented card because it's just small bodies at pretty reasonable costs. It doesn't do anything immediately impactful to the board, but it does give you some consistent elementals in hand and a lot of late-game value. If you do go into those control-style battles, you can keep applying pressure with bigger and bigger minions, hoping to exhaust their removal along the way. Also includes Primordial Glyph from Unguro. This is just a nice little tempo spell that can do things like activate your Mana Worm on turn 1 and just, again, generate you additional high-value resources that you can either use immediately sometimes or store up for bigger future higher tempo plays using that 5-mana Flame Strike later in the game, for instance. There are tech choices like Galaka Crawler, because there are still, believe it or not, a lot of pirate warriors in particular on the ladder, because people just want to rank up. They're not necessarily playing new decks. Of course, some players don't have new cards either, so that's understandable to play a good deck. That's fine, but Galaka Crawler is there to answer that. Other times, it's just a 2-3 minion that you can play on 2 just to keep some presence on the board. There are many elementals and elemental synergy cards like Igneous Elemental, Tar Creeper. We've got the Firefly here at 1. The Steam Surger is of particular interest. Not only does this have a really solid body for a 4-drop, but the battle cry is really nice because you do get a Flame Geyser, which just continues to allow you to play more and more elementals along the way. 12-Year Stone Shaper is another elemental synergy card that's going to help you develop a reasonably sized body that's also good at just making trades on the board with Divine Shield. You got Water Elemental 2, which is just a classic minion, of course. Servant of Kalamos, another value generation kind of card that's good in these mid-range decks to give you that extra reach against control. Blaze Callers are just fantastic board swing kind of cards. It's basically Firelands Portal, but you're guaranteed to get a 6/6 every time, and you're actually able to use the 5 damage even more often than Firelands Portal. But imagine all 3 of these being in a deck. So you got a lot of stuff you can do with powerful board swings late in the game. Meteor is also in this deck. This is sort of a parallel to Flame Strike. By the time you get to turn 6 or 7, there's not always as many wide boards, and sometimes you need to deal with one bigger threat and a couple smaller things, and Meteor meets that need really, really nicely. And then finally, I think the most interesting card of all is Hemet Jungle Hunter. Now, I don't know formally what Kolento's thought process is here, but I'm doing my best to analyze this deck as best I can, essentially. And I think the goal here is that this is a deck that you want to be able to contest the early game. There's a lot of early drops to do that. You can play against more aggressive or higher tempo decks and keep up, but there's going to reach a point where you get into the late game against a control deck, and you don't really need Igneous Elementals that give you 1-2 Elementals. You don't need Fireflies. You don't need Mana Worms. You want to make sure that you're hitting things like your Elise and your Servant and your Meteors and your Firelands Portals. And Hemet essentially allows you to develop a body while also filtering through your deck to ensure that every single top deck you get is going to be at least somewhat significant. And you can see basically this is the cutoff point for Hemet. Everything below here you're going to lose, and everything ahead of that point you're going to keep from Hemet. And you can see here that any of these given cards are actually high value enough that they're going to make an impact in the late game. You know, even Steam Surger, pretty high value. Water Elemental is still a big minion that can actually do something. So him, it does make sense in this kind of deck to help you just filter through and make sure you have some consistency in the late game. So all that said, I think it's a nice little interesting list. I think it's probably going to need some refinement like any other day one Unguro list. I don't even know if it's the best way to play Mage, but I think it's in the interest of learning and of science, it's going to help us to investigate this deck, see if Elemental Mage is an archetype that is viable and good, and if these cards work, and perhaps, especially for my curiosity, whether or not Pyros is actually a halfway decent card, because I kind of think he's sort of terrible. So the results may end up suggesting that Elemental Mage is absolutely terrible, and that's not a failure of Kolento necessarily specifically, just maybe of the archetype or the cards inside it. So all that said, the best way to find out, of course, as we're going to do with any deck spotlight, is just go ahead and take this Elemental Mage out onto the ranked ladder to see it in action, and then we'll know more. We'll know if it's good. And I think that's going to help us filter through a lot of the Hearthstone decks out there that are doing different things and maybe working and maybe not working. I felt like there was a weird sound in the background. I apologize if that came through the game in particular. So we definitely don't want Blaze Caller. We're playing a Warrior. It might actually be Pirates. We could hard mulligan for Galactic Crawler in particular, but I think this is enough like of a 1-2 punch here. Mana Worms are pretty good against early game Pirates. Pyros is not necessarily, because it's just going to give us back a 6/6 that's not necessary, so getting this just as a 2/2 body is not relevant. But if we hit that Galactic Crawler, we're going to be pretty pumped. Water Elemental is also fantastic against Pirates, if this is in fact Pirates. Could be a Taunt Warrior. We don't know yet what we're about to see. Everything is still up for debate this early in Unguro, but obviously it looks like Pirates to me. So I don't hate our hand. I still wish we had a Galactic Crawler. That would just be so sick. But we can actually make do here. I think we'll just play this out. It dies to the board, but it of course trades to the board as well. We're going to lose clearly some of the potential higher damage output, but right now we don't need that. If he decides to trade into it, cool. If not, we can capitalize on its potential higher damage in a following turn with Frostbolt or Coin, of course. So we'll be fine either way. He's not trading, so this is going to get a little bigger. I kind of wish he'd played essentially a 3-drop minion instead of all these small guys, because it doesn't really help me to Frostbolt anything here, right? In fact, we could probably just ping and be in the same spot, so maybe we save the Frostbolt, and we could coin out the Water Elemental next turn. I think we have to play it just a tad slow here. Actually, Primordial Glyph could be a pretty big hit here. Imagine if we got I don't know, Arcane Explosion, for instance. Perhaps this is worth it already. There's just not that much damage on the board. I guess we're going to get greedy to test out this card, guys. I guess we're going to get greedy. It could be a pretty big backfire. Forbidden Flame's okay. We'll take it. These are going to be both way too slow for us. This actually means that we can coin and kill something. But then we lose the Water Elemental, so I just don't know that the coin is worth it. But this will be good as a sort of ping with leftover mana, I think, on a future turn. So we might be alright. Excuse me. Goodness. So he traded a little bit. I'm fine with that. Of course he would. I mean, you don't want to leave that higher threatening minion up there. Oh, there it is. Wow, and we don't have to destroy a small pirate. We can actually hit this big pirate, which is just so incredibly good. And we could coin a ping, or we could just go ahead and Forbidden Flame. I think I will, because saving the coin might actually be relevant. And you might wonder why I don't save this for like a bigger threat or a higher value threat or something. That's because, you know, I don't want to spend 4 mana necessarily to kill a Frothing Berserker when I might just be able to trade ping into the same thing. Or Frostbolt a Korkron Elite, for instance. Those are going to be more efficient, yeah, see? So we can Frostbolt this instead of feeling the need to use 3 mana, we're going to get by with 2. So it helps us be just a little bit more efficient. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to do much else with our turn if we take that route. So I think I'm just going to make this bad trade and play the Water Elemental. That's just to get the maximum amount of damage off in this to lock down any potential weapon shenanigans that occur. But beyond that, we just don't have a lot of life gain right now or taunt. So we're gonna have to figure something out. I don't know. But as much as this play sucks, you know, if we do this, what else? We could ping, I suppose. Just Frostbolt ping takes all the pirates off the board. If he decides to Arcanite Reaper, he takes me to 7. If he plays minions, I do have a minion on the board, but I want to lock down the Arcanite Reaper before it gets there is my biggest concern. And I don't think I'm that worried about one pirate on the board. Pirate buffs would be pretty problematic, though, if he had another Bloodsail Cultist. This is actually a pretty big debate, but I think ultimately I have to get this out and start contesting with it. I think that's really going to be our ultimate goal. There are some good elementals here I think we can get. Maybe less actually in Mage than in Shaman, because there's not as many taunt options and that kinds of thing for Mage. So the Frostbolt's still going to feel pretty good here, but Mortal Strike puts us just so close to dead all the time. We can play this guy and coin out the Frostbolt. We could play this guy, but then we can't Frostbolt, and I think we have to lock down the face and kill this minion. So let's play this guy first. Get the Flame Geyser. This doesn't actually help us much this turn, but it could be relevant in the future. And we have to leave this alive. It doesn't, you know, it does 1 damage. Mortal Strike obviously kills me, but I just don't have the mana to deal with it. We could have pinged it off to maybe increase our chances of survival this turn by, like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Wouldn't have mattered either way. But I gotta develop the 5/4 minion too. Like, we've got to start stabilizing our own board a little bit. So sacrificing a minion for the ping is just ultimately not going to be worth it. The resource and the minion are just too valuable. So that sucks. Even with the Galactic Crawler, the pirate just pushed us over. Just a little bit of awkward mana fluctuations from turn to turn. It was hard to find exactly what we needed at exactly the right point. So I don't feel too bad about losing that one. It's we're playing an unrefined day 1 brand new Journey to Ungrow deck, and that guy was playing, you know, what is essentially a perfectly refined day 100 pirate deck. So this is Rogue. There's actually a chance we see some pirates with Swashbuckler, and if this is a quest rogue in particular. So I kind of like keeping the Galactic Crawler here. I don't know that the Igneous Elemental is going to give me enough immediate value. We're not going like an elemental route right away. I'm kind of hoping to pick up some other kind of utility cards perhaps instead. These are okay. Not exactly what I meant. I was thinking more things like Frostbolt perhaps. You know, just anything essentially that helps me apply pressure, keep up. We'll go ahead and do this. It's fine. He's going to Swashbuckle and go into all the quest shenanigans, and we are going to have trouble killing him in time, I think. As long as his hand is halfway decent, it's going to be hard for us to keep up, I think. Unfortunately, we don't get to play this on 2. Makes me a little bit sad. Oh, we can play Pyros, though. He's not... the 6/6 is not going to be super relevant, but the elemental activation actually will be pretty relevant here, because we can get a Tol'vir down, and this is a pretty nasty minion to deal with. And can apply some board pressure, too. And we'll coin to buff this guy a little bit as well. If he's going to kill a minion, he should probably kill the Mana Worm, really. This ultimately, just because it's a legendary, doesn't add any extra value to the board. And it dying is the only way I get anything back. So this can become much bigger than... He doesn't know that I have a spell, though, so he might be thinking about that. Anyway, he's thinking, and that's good. The fact that he doesn't have a clear line to activate his quest is, I think, a good sign for me. So that's weird. I haven't seen this run yet in the rogue quest environment. I mean, it makes sense if it turns into a 5/5. I like it. It's a very, 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 very cheap taunt. That's pretty cool, but... we may actually not need this guy. I think we can go ahead and play the Steam Surger here. We don't really need the taunt. He has the weapon up, which I wasn't sure was going to happen, so the Divine Shield loses some value there. And this guy gives us something back a little bit more active. That's cool artwork on this card, the Flame Geyser. It's really awesome. Doesn't look like a geyser, really. I guess it's kind of out of his hand a little bit. It is a geyser, but... Okay. Cool. 6/6 Pyros. Not going to really help us this game. I think we have to win before this becomes relevant. A lot of removal in this quest rogue deck. I haven't seen that yet. Oh, okay. We have an answer to this. Do we want to do it now, though? I guess we do, because we want to prevent potential shadow steps and stuff. It kind of sucks, but I actually think it'll be alright. I might go ahead and flame... We're not going to be able to play an elemental to activate this stuff. We can Elise next turn, it's fine, but... I do want to... This might look a little strange. It's for two reasons. We do need to apply pressure to his face, but it's really more about getting this little guy to perhaps line up to activate an elemental on a future turn while we have the mana to do it. So since we can see a turn 5 play and perhaps a turn 6 play with either of these, I just want to make sure that I get this while it's possible to get it. So what's he at? He's at 2 Swashbucklers at this point, I think. I don't know. Which one is he at? Is he with Novice Engineers too? So he's kind of got multiple routes here. As much as we could play this as just a body, I mean, obviously Elise has a better body and theoretically accomplishes something. I wish I could ping that off, but I just don't have another play to go along with it, except for the Flame Elemental, and that kind of sucks. I need to get damage on the board. There's some inevitability here with this quest if he gets enough cards that we're just going to lose the game. In fact, it might be this turn. That's 3 Swashbucklers. If he had Shadow Step or Youthful or anything, yeah, so I think we lose already. I just don't know how to win at this point. This deck is... I mean, he's got to cast it right, so we've got a little bit of time, but it's just going to be tough. We can kill a couple things. We can kill everything on board. Now I don't think we can kill everything on board. That doesn't really help accomplish my goals. I think I'm going to play Pyros, even though it means at least 1 5/5 is going to come out next turn, or actually 2, though. I might have to squeeze in a ping and just play the Tol'Vir. Or maybe, actually, we probably need to play the Tar Creeper and the Fire Elemental to activate our Elementals, because Tol'Vir is not an Elemental itself, will not actually activate the Elementals. And then we can follow up on a future turn with some taunts that maybe buy me more time. So I think we have to squeeze in a ping. And it doesn't actually matter that we kill the bigger minion here, right? They're all going to be 5/5s next turn. So we're going to actually take the least amount of damage possible on our highest stuff, because they're all 5/5s theoretically. So who cares which one we trade into? It's totally irrelevant. So this is going to go down to a 5/2. We'll have 8, 9 damage on board. We'll be able to kill 1 minion with a Blaze Caller. But I think we're just going to fall behind a tad too fast here. I just don't know. It depends. He's going to be able to play, like, presumably 4 or 5 minions this turn. Well, not with the spell. I guess he'll only be able to play probably 1 or 2 minions this turn, because he has to cast the spell first. He's not casting the spell! I can't believe he didn't activate his quest. So actually, we theoretically should have killed this. Not that it mattered. The same amount of damage was going to be on the board, pretty much regardless, but... It's insane that he didn't cast his spell yet. We'll still make this play because we have a good trade lined up. 9 damage on board. He's at 17. We can still squeeze this out. We have Fireballs, Frostbolts in our deck. We have ways to kill him before he gets enough value. He's still got to spend 5 mana on his spell, and then he's got 3 mana to play with, so he might be able to summon a 5/5 charger. Morose, although good, is actually pretty slow. Pretty slow, guys. Do I want to get... Yeah, I want to get 1 2 damage spell here and 1 taunt to stall him out. So, this will be good. This is going to slow him down at least a little bit, right? He might have to use the weapon for the Divine Shield, and that takes 5 damage. We could have played 2 of the taunts, but we have a sizable board advantage, and I don't know that he has, like, South Sea deckhands here to actually pull this off. Oh, the Fan of Knives is actually pretty solid because it pops the Divine Shield. Is that an ice block? So he does have the deckhand. That helps him clear another minion safely. And the taunt. It's annoying. If I was him, I might use the Morose here to protect my board. Fireball just gives me lethal. Frostbolt gives me lethal now, assuming that's not ice block. This is 3 damage, so we might kind of be able to just ping him over at some point. Oh, cool. The question is here, if that's Ice Block, right, I can ping him to 4 Fireball, and the Ice Block would pop at 4. The problem is if I Flame Geyser and then ping. He's at 2, and it still takes me a while to kill him if it's Ice Block. I think it's still technically right to do it this way. It might also be a counter spell, so it's kind of important to test the counter spell. Turns out it's not Ice Block, so we're good to go either way. Fantastic. Woo! That's how you beat that deck, right? Is barely scrape by while they're arranging their quest. And wow, look at this quest satisfaction that's happening too for us. That's awesome. You just kind of have to find a way to kill them before they get that crazy infinite value, I think. Although the Rogue quest deck looks pretty good so far, I have to say. Surprisingly so to me at the very least. But we won a game with our deck. That's always a good sign. Or Kolento's deck, I should say, more accurately. So this is another mage. I would guess, if I had to, that it's a Waygate mage. That's far and away the most common mage I've seen thus far out of probably 50 Unguro games on the ladder. But I didn't want to keep the Tar guys in this environment because I'll tell you why. Because those are much better at stopping aggro, but they're not really that good at applying pressure to your opponent when you're trying to kill them. Because if you think about it, essentially... they are merely just 1 attack minions. They're not 3 attack minions, so it's really not that much better than getting out, for instance, Silverhand Recruit, for instance, as far as like killing your opponent. And basically, if this is a quest deck, as we correctly assumed it is, we have to kill them before they activate their 1-turn kill combo, or technically 2-turn kill combo, I guess, if you're going to be very specific. Nothing feels good here, so Pyros is fine. Can maybe help us get a Steam Surger out next turn with relevance. Steam Surger's a pretty cool card. It's awesome artwork, too. Like, look how cool that is. It's this awesome smoky ghost dude with a big fireball in his hand. I gotta say, Pyros' effect, we didn't actually get a great look at it there because it was kind of mousing over the card, but it looked really awesome. That's one great thing about that card. I think we'll just play this down on curve. We could definitely try the Steam Surger. I'm a little bit worried, though, that it's Mirror Entity. I don't really know the secret package. It's probably Ice Block / Ice Barrier. I've seen a Vaporize, but we don't know for sure. Especially, well, he drew this one from the Arcanologist, probably, so it's likely that. He hasn't generated any fake cards yet, so that's the one problem with this deck. If they generate fake cards and then play Secret, you don't really know, unless you're watching the hand very closely. And if it is the one that's fake, I call it fake, but generated, then there's just really no knowing. You got to be very careful. I think I'd rather develop this guy than the Elemental, personally. The only question is, are we going to overdraw on cards? We would have 9 in hand still if we play this. We could coin out a little Flame Elemental, I guess. I think that's fine. Oh, actually, I guess we just had 9 still. Oh, no, coin and guy. We were at 10. Yeah, that's right. That's the correct play. Okay, so we're not in a great spot, I don't think. I mean, thankfully, he's at 0 out of 6 still. So, oh, boy. We're going to burn a card. Thankfully, I don't think anything super important is going to get burned. There's just not that much left. We got the big Blaze Collars. Yeah, Glocker Crawler, that's trash. So, that's completely fine. Let's see, what do we want to do? I guess we can Primordial Glyph. I wish I could develop a bigger minion and still kill this without wasting a lot of damage. So for instance, like 4 mana, means I can't ping and trade. I guess we could just leave it alive. There's really no harm in that, maybe. And just continue to develop guys, mostly to clear my hand space, because I'm worried about more Cold Light Oracles. We had the Elemental activation, so that wasn't relevant. We're probably going to be able to chain it fairly well, although we may be committed to playing Pyros next turn now. Flame Strike, okay. Cheap Flame Strike too, that sucks. I was not playing around Flame Strike yet, but that is obviously a possibility with Primordial Glyph, so that sucked. But I'm just going to throw down the Pyros here, just to get the Elementals kicking again for Blaze Callers next turn. It's another big minion he might have some sort of difficulty playing. He's at 1 out of 6 thanks to that Flame Strike, so he's on his way. Got his other secret. It's gonna be, if he plays it, we won't really know, but he may not be able to play it because of this secret. We won't know which is which. Although we attacked face, so we know this is Ice Block, so that's actually probably a second Ice Block. Although he may maybe didn't want to utilize the mana, so we're still not 100% sure, but I think we'll just play the Blaze Caller. He had trouble with this 6/6, so kill the biggest minion on board and go face. Although, perhaps just Blaze Calling face might be more relevant. We could take 11 damage off, put him at 13. We have 6 in hand. Actually, even more with that over multiple turns. I'm almost considering this, because those minions don't really necessarily help him trade into Pyros. Plus, there's 2 guys now. I'm just going to go for it, guys. I think we got to end this game with some haste. It's much like Freeze Mage, historically, where you got to apply pressure, you got to win the game. There are obviously more minions they play, but Blizzard, okay, that's fine. He'll be able to kill the Pyros with minions on board or a ping. That actually helps him kill even more. Actually, it doesn't really. Okay. Wish we could heal this somehow. I don't think we can. I'm just going to play the other Blaze Caller here. Put him on a... This puts him basically on a clock with the ice block here. Because we have more than enough to pop it on board. He might be able to get around it somehow, but we can actually do 8 anyway with Frostbolt Firelands Portal, so we might be able to pop the block and really shorten his clock here. There's no Reno to save the day, boys. Isn't it great? He committed 2 mana to ping there. There's Pyros again, the 10 mana version. We haven't seen that yet. I mean, Pyros has been okay, guys, but ultimately, I don't think he's been considerably better than Boulder Fist Ogre. We could have played a 6 mana Boulder Fist Ogre. Actually, it would have been better because he'd still had to ping it another time. He has activated elemental synergies, which is very important. Don't get me wrong. Not totally crapping on old Pyros there. Yeah, so I'm going to pop the block. This is the ice barrier, I think. If it is... I sure hope it's not Counterspell. We're going to get burned pretty hard if it's Counterspell. I'm going to do it with Firelands Portal first anyway, and I'll tell you why. Because I want to put him to 3 for the ice block so that we can Frostbolt him in the future to potentially kill him if he doesn't have another ice block in hand. So even though this is worse against Counterspell, it's much better against actual ice block. That's not great, but I'll take it. And we won't ever actually have to deal with the ice barrier, assuming he doesn't have the other ice block. We might just be fine. We won't have to attack with minions. We have enough damage on board that we could attack through anyway at this point, but assuming he Frost Novas again. So there's the other ice block and the Frost Nova. So we can actually pop the block, thankfully, this turn with just the Flame Geyser, which is pretty cool. We can save the Firebolt and the Frostbolt for later. Basically, nothing else we do is relevant with minions, so I'm just going to do this Primordial Glyph, see what we get. Maybe it's an ice block that saves my life, right? There's some good options here. Okay, cool. Now it's, like, unlosable. I don't see how we lose this game. Even if somehow he doesn't have enough cards to do his combo, but I think even if he did, there's just no way for us to win, or to lose. So... He's out of life gain. Well, he might get another ice block off Kabbalist Tome, my god. But we can just keep pinging it off. I don't think that's another ice block. There's no way, right? Is this his 3rd ice block, guys? I'm going to be pretty salty if that's the case. Oh my god. I might go ahead and play this Elise. Just to get the card pack added to my deck. It might be alright. Could somehow be relevant, but again, I just don't think we can lose the game. Unless he somehow generates a 4th ice block. He still hasn't activated the quest. He's got a long way to go. Although I've seen them do it in a single turn. They can do crazy stuff, so that doesn't count him out necessarily. It's just how many ice blocks can one player actually play. So he's actually kind of setting up here for the combo. But I think that means we're fine, because... that can't possibly be another ice block, can it? I swear to God. Okay, it wasn't another ice block. Alright. Thank God. Oh my gosh. I was going to be real salty if that was a, what, 3rd ice block or 4th ice block? No, 4th ice block, I think. Goodness gracious. So I'm going to play one more game with this deck. I think we've actually gotten a pretty good feel for what it's about. And frankly, it doesn't seem bad. It's... Hemet doesn't make a lot of sense to me still yet, but we haven't maybe been in a control environment with a non-combo deck that really encouraged that. So that might not be an issue. We just haven't seen it in action yet, so we don't know. But, you know, the kind of play minions on a mid-range curve stone style is working just fine. I feel like perhaps I'd prefer to do it in Shaman, but Mage spells are awfully good, so I cannot complain with what we've accomplished thus far. We have a winning record at this point. We've really only lost to Pirates, right? Am I misremembering? Sometimes I have trouble. I play so many Hearthstone games. Even though they just happened, sometimes it's tough to remember. So we're playing Crunchy Nuts, and we'll see what kind of guy this is soon. Perhaps Pirate. But this is a great start against Pirates. You have a lot of early game minions. Just coining something here. Fire War Axe. Looks like Pirates to me still, but you never know. It's not golden. That might be a signal of something or another. I don't really think Pyros helps. He's just going to Fire War Axe it down. Same with Mana Worm. I think I'll just go ahead and Primordial Glyph here while I have the mana to do it. I don't need to ping. I don't need to... Ugh, none of this is relevant to Pirates at all. It's awful. I guess Blizzard is technically the most defensive of all those cards. A 4-mana Blizzard. The fact that we can get it out so quickly might actually be helpful. We'll see. I'm expecting a Raider here at this point. Yep. We don't have a good answer for it. Unfortunately. We'll have to play the Igneous Elemental, I think. Frostbolt would be a godsend, I think, at this point, but no Frostbolt. We could go Pyros Mana Worm. Maybe compel him to do something with the Mana Worm. He's likely to ignore them, and we can Blizzard next turn to buff the Mana Worm. We'll do this, we'll do this. He might feel compelled to kill the Mana Worm because it's kind of threatening, right? Pyros' animations are fantastic. What a cool execution on this card. I still am not completely sold. I might rather just have a good 2-drop here at this point. A 3-2 in particular would be a trade line, but in case we do get a 4-drop elemental, the Tolvir Stone Shaper, I think is the name, the taunt guy. This is really important that we played this. Could have done it with Igneous Elemental too, but again, I like this line. I think it's a superior line. Blizzard's actually going to do some work here. It's going to kill some stuff probably, and he's going to trade a little bit. That's sad. If he trades this way, though, it's going to trade into Blizzard nicely. It's going to stall him out, too, just a tad. What did I say, guys? What did I say? This is not that great this turn, though, unfortunately, which means we may not get to utilize it for a while. Simply because he has the ping effect, right? So this is going to get the Divine Shield pinged off pretty freely. Then he gets a good little trade. The question is this going to do better than Blizzard does for me now? If I Blizzard now, it's all stalled out, so I heal some because it stalls. I can kill one, but I could also just keep this around to trade next turn. And I could ping next turn and play the Igneous Elemental, then follow up with a ping Tolvir on 6. I think I like this line a little bit better. The real question is should I go ahead and trade this in now or wait? He's on Kor'kron Elite turn, so he could actually get a pretty good Kor'kron trade into this. So I think I have to go ahead and take the bigger threat out here, actually, now that I think about the Kor'kron. Because I don't want to give him a free Kor'kron trade, because that was at 2, not 3, which means we'd have trouble pinging off both of the 1 health guys. That denies my ping, but still, that's annoying. We need to deal with this somehow, don't we? I need a Frostbolt right now. It's not a Frostbolt, guys. Still can't really get value out of this. And I can't get value out of my ping, so I gotta play this really crappy little minion, and he's at 9, 10 damage. I just don't see... I actually should have played this one too. I didn't realize this floating in mana. We can play the Tolvir ping, but man, we're just in a tough spot here. He might trade this way to set up the ping. If he doesn't kill this too, we might be able to kill this with the trade. Oof, that's an issue. I can't deal with that at all. I just don't have an answer for that. There's a chance the Tolvir absorbs the hit, but I don't think so. I think he's going to have more than enough to get through it. Especially if this guy lives, depending on how he trades. He's going to trade this way. Yeah, that's the right. I think that's right. Wait a minute. Now he's lining up this on this. That's not right. There you go. That's the correct. Preserve as much health as possible on the 3 health guy is what he wants to do. And it's right. It's absolutely right. Storm Surger does allow me to kill a minion with my Flame Geyser that I get, but then he has 12, 13 damage showing. So that's just not going to do the job. Tolvir Stone Shaper is unfortunately, though, going to die to... It might take 2 minions to kill it, but if he does, this gets 4 extra attack and goes up to 11. So if we play this, we take at least 11 damage. With this, we take a little more, 13. Not counting what's in hand, of course. So most likely we're dead, no matter what we do. So I guess we'll play what I think is technically the safer route. But I just don't think we're going to have an out here. This is going to go up to an 11-4. Any damage in hand, basically, at that point, kills me. And that's if he doesn't have some other way to deal with this. For instance, I don't know. Another South Sea Captain, obviously, making this 5 attack. Just trade, and go ham on my face. There's a lot of options here. A South Sea Deckhand could trade into with anything, basically, to give him more damage. Right now, though, he kind of maybe has to use 2 minions to get through this, which could actually make the difference. Heroic Strike, obviously, a super clean clear. So that's... Oh, that's weird. I mean, it's free, I guess, but I just would have went face with it, I think, for... Well, he cost himself 1 damage that way. He lost 3, but gained 2. But I don't know why he didn't keep the South Sea Deckhand alive instead of the Bloodsail Raider. It was weird. I think it was the same functional trade. He used it to pop the Divine Shield. It was odd. Oh, actually, he had lethal if he just went face instead of trading. Yeah, so it really did matter. But what can we possibly do? Nothing. He has exactly what he needs. We can kill the Frothing and trade, but it just doesn't help. He's got 1 damage on hand. Makes me a little sad. I don't think Crunchy Nuts played this perfectly by any means, and still gets the win. And that's 2 losses to Pirates. We didn't see the Galaka Crawler. Would have been pretty amazing this game. But he's got a pretty easy lethal to spot here. So not a bad fought one. Perhaps some different lines. Could have gotten us out of that a little more gracefully. But I don't think there was much we were going to be able to do there with the hand we had. Just a lot of slow cards. We did see Pyros a lot. We didn't get to play with him. It is a little bit sad, but still a really good investigation of this deck. And ultimately, not that bad. I felt like it was coherent in a way and, you know, balanced. The curve felt fine. It had some power turns. It had ways to kill your opponent with damage. So a lot of this made sense to me. It seems maybe Quest Mage is better because it just wins games in a consistent and predictable way, but I liked this more than I thought I would, to tell you the truth. So Elementals seem awfully good, and Mage feels like a pretty good home for them. All that said, if you guys have any thoughts, comments, or questions about this deck, the way I played it, you know, substitutions for cheaper cards, I'll answer as much as I can, so feel free to leave all those thoughts and comments in the comments below, of course. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, game on.